It's morphin' time! Hey kiddos, thanks so much for joining me for episode 11 in Chronicles in Collecting, where we're going to take a look at the Power Rangers Legacy Thunder Megazord. So obviously this is the first figure on the channel that's sort of designed for the US market. I typically, unbox Japanese figures, but we could do a little bit of a quick discussion as to why I decided to get this, add it to my collection, and why it's a cool figure. So we previously looked at Soul Chogokin that did Dragon Zord and Titanus and the Megazord, which is all the mechs from the original Power Rangers, Zio Ranger in Japan. However, the Soul of Chogokin line did not do the stuff from the second season of Power Rangers, which sort of left me with two different options. Or I guess three. So you have the original figures from 1993, 1994. Those are they're nice, but they're low quality. They're lower quality than some of the other stuff. I want something like really nice to add on my shelf, which kind of left me with two different options. We have this guy, and then there's the Super Sentai Artisan collection, which is a Japanese collection where they obviously produce, the robots from Super Sentai Power Rangers. So I kind of looked at both of them. There's not a lot of direct comparisons online, but the Super Sentai Artisan is really just basically a re-release of the original figure. I think it has like more painting, maybe it has like some nicer materials, but the proportions are pretty different than this one. The Super Sentai Artisan, like the original figure, is kind of a much beefier proportion. It kind of has this like huge chest and these huge shoulders, which if you had the figure as a kid or you've seen the old figure, it probably has some nostalgic value to it. It certainly did to me. This one had a more kind of slender profile and was a little bit more truer proportion-wise to the original in the series. And I thought that since I'm going to have it next to the the Megazord and the other stuff, I wanted something that was maybe a little bit more similar in scale to that. So I decided to go for this guy. This figure came out in 2016. It retailed for $200. Fortunately, I was able to pick it up earlier this year for about $200. There was a seller on Amazon that had like 20 of them in stock. Those sold out, fairly quickly, and now it's going on the secondary market for probably about $450. The Super Sentai Artisan Works one is also going for about that much. So if you want to get in on the Thunder Megazord, unfortunately, it's probably going to cost you. I don't think that we're going to see a re-release of this figure anytime soon. Bandai lost the license to release Power Ranger figures in the US. Obviously, they still do it in Japan, and Hasbro has them now. I think there's probably a pretty decent chance that Hasbro will do their own version of this. They recently, probably within the last year or two, released their own version of the Megazord. Probably not something I'm going to wind up reviewing on this channel. I don't think I'm going to buy it. It's a lower end product. It's probably like in the $80 or so price range. I mean, it's a nice figure, but certainly not as nice as something as like the Soul Chogokins or even the Legacy line. But I think there's a pretty good chance that Hasbro will, continue to take advantage of having the license and go into season 2 of Power Rangers. So let's just quickly kind of get an idea of where this guy comes from, why it's important. So I think everyone sort of probably knows, or many of the people watching this channel probably know, that the original Power Rangers that came out in the US is actually based on a very long-running show in Japan called Super Sentai. It's been running for 30, 40, maybe even longer than that, years. Every year, pretty much like clockwork, they have a new version, new set of Rangers, new set of Zords, and for the most part, completely separate storyline. I'm not a Super Sentai expert. There's a few of the seasons I think that maybe have some crossover characters, but for the most part they're self-contained. Now when the show came to the US for season 1, they basically took the Japanese footage of the Zords and some of the Power Rangers fighting and the monsters. They interspliced it with footage of US actors sort of speaking in English with a more Americanized, the kids are in an American high school and, they kind of do things that might be more regular to a young American audience. Which maybe wasn't ready for something as Japanese as Super Sentai, in the early 90s. And that kind of ran. However, by the time they got to, the original run of that footage kind of ran out after I think it was about 50 or 60 episodes, and in the US, Saban Entertainment kind of wanted to continue with the same storyline. So what at first what they did was they actually hired the Japanese production studio to create new footage, so that they can fight new monsters and have new footage to splice, kind of using some of the original costumes. However, that went on for a little bit, but eventually they negotiated the rights to get season 2 of Power Rangers. So what this basically led to was a situation where the Power Rangers had the suits from Zyuranger, but they had the Zords from Dairen'Oh. And I think, if you were a kid watching in the US, you'd probably, never know this, that it's actually a combination of sort of concepts from multiple different shows. And I think very interestingly is that the White Ranger and the Tiger Zord, which we will certainly get to in another video probably next month, that's actually from Dairen'Oh, not from the original Power Rangers. So it's kind of just this mix of some US footage and Japanese footage from different seasons and combinations. For the most part, I think they pulled it off pretty well. People have chronicled online some places where you see the wrong Zord fighting or the wrong Ranger fighting or something like that. But it was a show designed for kids. It's probably, it's still fun to watch. Just kind of thought it was a little fun little factoid there. As I kind of already hinted at, the Japanese show that this is based on is called Dairen'Oh. That ran from February 93 to February 94 for 52 episodes. Power Rangers Season 2, which was called, it was called the Thunder Megazord, that ran from 94 to 95, and that ran for about the same amount of episodes. Anyway, so let's unbox this guy and see what we got. One other thing that's sort of interesting to notice that there's actually 2 versions of the Legacy Thunder Megazord. The first version that came out in 2016, the joints on the knees were a little weak and would sometimes topple over, so they updated it and they put some little plasticky thing to kind of keep the knees from buckling. That's on the second one. So the boxes are the same. I think that the barcodes are slightly different, so you can look that up via barcode. But if you do have the original version and you can't get it to stand up, I've seen some people online who have made I don't know what they're called, but basically 3D printing blueprints or CAD drawings or whatever, so that you could just 3D print them and put them on. So if you have a 3D printer or access to it, you can get those. But let's dive into it. I've been really excited to open this guy up. Probably bought it like February of this year, and it's just been like sitting there. Oh, okay. There we go. Put this box on the side. So I think the first thing that we'll probably notice is the packaging is a lot different than what we're used to from some of the Japanese figures. The Soul of Chogokin, where it's like perfectly engineered to get the everything to fit just perfectly in the box, and everything's perfectly in place in plastic, and there's tape and this and that everywhere. And this is just in a cardboard box with a little plastic on it, which is fine. It's just funny to see the contrast between some of these Japanese figures where you need like a degree just to unbox it, versus the American figures that has some like recycled cardboard, and everything's just kind of put there. I also think that this video might be a little faster because I would suspect that this guy is going to be a lot easier to transform than some of the Soul of Chogokin stuff like Gao Gaigar, or even the Soul of Chogokin Megazord. But so let's get through all the all the Zords, like I've never seen Power Rangers before. And let's kind of just take a look at them one by one. So you can see, it's nice detail on all these, nice painting, not like stickers from the original one. The quality control is not as high as the Soul of Chogokin. You see a spare, paint mark here or there, but nothing that's the end of the world, especially for, these are mostly designed for adults, but based on something that was designed for kids. We'll at least keep up the charade that these are designed to be played with by children, even though certainly when I was a kid, I wasn't getting a $200 Megazord. That's for sure. All right, this is pretty much the same thing, but in blue. Another thing that's interesting about this is that Dairen'Oh had different color Power Rangers than Zyuranger. So the colors on the American figure, the original American figure, were changed from the original one. So you can see here that this is a little bit more of like a dark greenish tint, because it wasn't for the Black Ranger in Japan. In the US, it was made entirely black. This version, I think, is more towards the original colors. We'll see if this is one I could finally do without instructions. Probably not, though. Got the like Shogun helmet here. Actually, while I'm unpacking these, just throw these guys on the stand just so we can get a little bit of a 360 view. Let's get the stand lined up here. All right. We got all the weapons. Oh, we do have one piece of tape. Unfortunately, it's off camera, but you'll have to take my word on it. And here's the weapons. Oh, and the chain. I think we've had enough. Whoa. All right, already got first man down. Everything. It's cardboard. All right, and as you can see, no instructions, which I think is again a really big difference than the Soul of Chogokin, where it's like, here's a 30. Oh no, I take it back. But a much smaller set of instructions. You know, just sort of like one page, one big page, but a lot different than the Soul of Chogokin. That's like, here's 30 pages with a table of contents for every single thing that you could use. And also, as you know, a part of these instructions are for combining it with the Tiger Zord. And this guy has a number of different modes. I'm just gonna put this over here so we can see it as we get into the rest. So let's start off with the Red Dragon Thunder Zord, which I think is, you know, kind of like the base of that, and probably a big part of, you know, what justifies that, you know, $200 price tag, which is pretty expensive for a US Power Ranger figure. You know, it's not that expensive compared to, you know, the Chogokin stuff, but for the US, I think that's quite high. I am a little afraid to let this guy stand on his own. All right, I don't think he's gonna fall. So do that for a second, and let me just open up this guy. Okay, so let's start off with transforming this. So as you may know from watching from watching Power Rangers, if you've seen it, this Red Dragon Thunder Zord transforms into a dragon. Probably makes a lot of sense. So let's open it up like this. So all right, let's see. So step one, turn him upside down. I got that. All right, pull these arms out like this. Pull the arm out like that. Also, the instructions being in English, probably a huge help. Oh, okay, and then these like, okay, I got it. The hands come out like that to make the claws. That's pretty cool. This is really a nice mix of sort of the crazy Japanese engineering and the very simplistic versions of these from when I was a kid. So you pull those out. I think also having a toy that's designed for 15-year-old kids is making it easier on me to transform it, but maybe that's more of a reflection on me than it. Okay, pull. Okay, so you pull that out like that, pull that out like that. At some point there's a dragon face, presumably. Okay, so that's his tail. Oops, this thing's still on. Nope, it's still on. All right, I'm going to hit pause for a quick second here. And we are back, and I am armed with knowledge of how to transform this thing. So first, we transform the Red Dragon Thunder Zord into its dragon form. Take a quick look at that. That was not actually nearly as hard as some of the other ones, but I was just kind of getting boring watching me read the directions. So you take a quick look at that. A few other, there's not a ton of, what you see is kind of what you get. It does have this base for the assault mode. That's where you basically just have, just line everybody up. Oops, that's gonna hit. Kind of put this guy over here, this guy over here. Oh no. Oops. Put this over here and kind of gives everybody a little base to go on. I don't find this pose, obviously everybody has their own, the pose that interests them. I want to see this posed as the as a Thunder Megazord, not as the individual Zords, but if you do, you could do it that way as well. We got Griffin Zord, Unicorn Zord. Man, I have not watched this Power Rangers in a really long time, and I do not remember it as well as the season 1 stuff. But yeah, all the Zords are pretty nicely detailed, nice markings on them. Like I say, you don't have to have the stickers. You got the paint. You got the gold. Actually, the weapons were a lot nicer than I thought. In the pictures, they don't seem as chromy. They kind of look more like plasticky, like the originals. But the weapons have a nice amount of chrome. You got this like cool chain, some nice detailing on the sword holster, and then even the tail, which goes on top as part of the sword. Again, it looks duller even on the camera, but it actually looks pretty nice in person. Okay, so I think let's get to the money pose here, which I think everyone wants to see when it is morphin time and they combine. This is like the hardest. This thing is kind of hard to get, but after that it should be smooth sailing. So you could see here these little additions on the bottom. Here I'm trying to get a good angle. That's what was added in the version 2, those little things right there, just to kind of prevent it from going forward. And like I said, if you have the 3D printing version, you could basically print these new, call them knee pads. So you could prevent him from sort of toppling over. I don't know if it's a him, it could be a her. Make sure I got the right leg here. This is left. Okay. No, I think actually it does matter. What's also actually really cool about these figures, and I unfortunately don't have another figure to test it out with, but I will when I get the opportunity, is these use the Zord builder. Yeah, Zord builder. God, I don't know why I keep calling them Zoids. Got Zoidberg on the mind. They have Zord builder ports, which is basically like a standardized format for Zord building that Bandai America used for their stuff. So basically what it means is that anything that has Zord builder ports is basically compatible. So it's pretty cool. You're able to do some combinations that didn't exist in the show. I know that for the for the Tiger Zord, they show it kind of combining with the original Megazord, which is cool. So there's some pretty cool stuff. So there is a benefit if you get all of the Legacy stuff. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I have the Chigogan Season 1 Power Ranger stuff, so I will not be, using that. But it is a nice little addition if you did get that. All right, so see, kind of morph him. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy to do, unlike Gal Gaigar, which I spent like 40 minutes to do, and I really did not get any faster at. Okay, so let's just double check with the instructions here. I believe these guys go to the side. Question is, which side? Okay, so these should be on the outside. Okay, yeah, nope, that makes sense. So these go in like this. Yep, and as you can see, those knees are not going forward at all. You got some pretty nice, you know, you can move it out a little bit more. You know, maybe not quite the articulation as some of the robot spirits that we've been looking at, but still pretty nice. You know, this is like a big clunky Zord. It's not gonna, you know, in the show it didn't really move all that much. So yeah, and even I think in the picture they just sort of have him kind of chilling like that. All right, then we have this, which comes out like somehow, yep, like that. This comes down. These come out. This I remember from when I was a kid. This is the same. And again, I think this is a really nice, just sort of halfway point between the really overly, wow, these are really substantial. I'm surprised at how heavy they are. This is, I think, going to be, claim that this just snaps into place, but I've heard that before. And now, you know, I went on about how much easier this was to do and that I could definitely combine a Zord that was for a 15-year-old, but I guess it's just me. I think also some of it is I'm just kind of being a little overly careful with these things. Okay, so I see. You know, it would unfortunately be very hard to replace this guy, so I don't want to mess him up. Okay, so supposedly these just click right into place. That was actually not too bad. And then this. Oops, I think I might have him, I might have the chest backwards. I'm supposed to flip it. Yeah, I mess when I get to here when I can. No, I think. All right, and we are back. So you can see here we have the fully built Legacy Thunder Megazord on the left. We have the Dragonzord here on the right for comparison. Just for anyone who's interested in scale, which I'm always interested in scale, according to the Power Rangers wiki, these guys should actually be the same height. So that is one downside of sort of mixing and matching from different lines. However, the Legacy Dragonzord is actually still not the same height as the Legacy Thunder Megazord, though it is about 2 inches taller than this guy. So, you know, if you want everything on your desk to be perfectly in scale, which I typically do, then this, you know, might not be the best option. But I do love the Soul Chogokin Dragonzord, and I would still get that over the Legacy. But anyway, focusing on the figure that we have here in question, this guy's really big. It's kind of a little too big to put on that, but I'll just do this the old-fashioned way here. It's not like super posable. Don't expect to be able to do like any really cool poses, the poses that he holds the sword at various heights. That's about it. He could lean side to side, and he could kind of move his wrists back and forth a little bit, but not much. So yeah, not super posability, but on the other hand, it's not like the any of the Megazords in Power Rangers were making like crazy poses anyway, because it was just like a guy in a plastic suit. I guess my closing thoughts on this figure, it's certainly not perfect, but it's a pretty sweet figure. I mean, it is, it's really nice to look at. The detailing is nice. I don't have to put stickers on it. It was fairly reasonable to build. I don't have any major complaints. I'd probably give it maybe, I don't normally rate things, but I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10. Definitely worth $200 if you can get it for that price. At $400 or $450, I don't think that this figure is worth $450. I think it's a nice figure. I think it's worth $250. But that being said, if you want it, that's unfortunately pretty much the only way to get it now. Maybe try to pick up a used one or something like that. Anyway, so that's it for Thunder Megazord. I will be doing some more Power Rangers stuff. Probably going to try to do maybe like one Power Rangers video a month. So Tiger Zord is going to be next, and this will lead up to the Soul of Chogokin Megazord, which I just really don't want to have to put together, and that's why I haven't done the video. Anyway, thanks so much for checking out this video. Hopefully you know that videos go up every Wednesday, and please join me next week when we are going to take a look at the RX-93 New Gundam and the New Gundam full expansion set. We'll probably do a little bit of a primer on Char's counterattack, open these guys up, and maybe talk about funnels a little bit. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Please check out my other videos. Also have a few movie reviews up for the Gundam movies that have recently just been released on Netflix. Thanks so much, and keep collecting.